Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. Today we're going to be continuing on the book, The Concise Presentation of the Fiqh. Today is part 50 of the series, and we are on part 3 of the topic of Zakah. Today is the 30th of August 2023, and we are in the night of the 15th of Safar 1445. And today we are going from the part which is recipients of Zakah, which is page 295 in the book. The recipients of Zakah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said,
translation of which?
The alms are only for the poor, the needy, those employed to collect the funds, and to attract the hearts of those who have been inclined towards Islam, and to free the captives, and for those in debt, and for Allah's cause, and for the wayfarer, a duty imposed by Allah, and Allah is all-knower, all-wise.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa mawala. The ayah which represents the recipients of the zakah is very clear. Surah At-Tawbah, verse number 60, and starts with innama. Innama in Arabic, adatu hasr. It's a linguistic tool used to limit. So when it starts innama, that means this is restricted to the one who's going to be mentioned. And it's very important because we find people expand the recipients of the zakah to things which is not included in the ayah, such as giving zakah to the orphans. And it has not been mentioned here. The orphan, if you see under the category of poor, that's something else. But just being an orphan, you could be rich. Also, which is very likely you've heard of, giving zakat to the da'wah. So they're setting up da'wah tables and all of that. Okay, so they're giving zakat to the da'wah, which is not in the verse. Also, giving zakat for the ones who are not able to marry. He is rich enough to feed himself, but he's not rich enough to get married because the marriage gives him a big of burden and there's a lot of money to be paid, and they take from the zakat, which is not mentioned in the ayah. And I have seen even a scholar try respect, but because he is affiliated to a certain partisan called the Ikhwan, Allah al-Musta'an, he made even from the recipients of the zakah is giving to the person who is from the Ikhwan, representing himself as a candidate for election. So giving him zakah to go ahead and involve himself into the election. It's not correct because it's not in the ayah. So that is why it's important to understand innama sadaqat. Verily, the recipients of the sadaqah, of the zakah, is for the following category. It has to be within this category, nobody else. Let's see what Ibn Kathir had said.
In his commentary to this verse, Ibn Kathir said, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned the objection to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam made by the ignorant hypocrites and their ridiculing of him with respect to the division of charity, Allah made it clear that He was the one who established these categories and rulings. He did not leave the categories to anyone other than Him.
Right. So the hypocrites at that time, they started saying, you know, these recipients of the zakah, how is it? Can it be you are actually giving something to somebody who is not deserved or something like this? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said in the Quran, it is Him, the Almighty, is the one who had restricted and defined who are the recipients to be for the zakah. Just like the inheritance. It is Allah Azza wa Jal. He put the fara'id, the ones who are due in terms of inheritance wise. So let's just see now the following topic, which is, do I need to fulfill all the recipients when I give the zakah? No.
Is it obligatory to give all of the categories of people mentioned in this verse? Ibn Kathir stated, the scholars differ concerning these 8 categories of people. Is it obligatory to give to all categories, or can one give only to those feasible? One view that it is obligatory to give to all. This is the view of Ash-Shafi'i and a number of scholars. The second opinion is that it is not obligatory to give to all of the categories. In fact, according to this view, it is permissible to give all of it to just one category, all the alms, even though the other categories are present. This is the view of Malik and a number of early and later scholars, including Umar, Hudayfa, Ibn Abbas,
Abu al-Ali, and etc. etc.
This is the view of
just I'm going to skip you to read that. The two opinions here, either we have to fulfill all the 8 recipients. So if you have a zakah, so you have to give to all of those mentioned, which is the 8 categories, or you could give it to one with the presence of the other one. So I could give it, for example, to the person who's going to jihad, even though I've got a poor category and I've got a person who is as well a traveler, a person who is as well trying to set himself a free slave. And the correct opinion, actually, we don't have a proof to say that you have to fulfill all these categories and give all these recipients, because it's going to be hard to find all the time 8 recipients, to find the faqir and the miskin and the one who's in debt and the one who is a slave. It's impossible to find somebody who's a slave these days, let alone to find somebody who is going for jihad. So it is not going to be very feasible. It's not going to be practical, and there's no proof. So you can give the zakah to any, and even with the presence of more, it doesn't mean that whatever is present, you have to give all of them. No. And I don't have to give one equal to the other one. It depends. Maybe this person, I feel that he is spending more because if he's got large family, because he lives in a different area, and so on and so forth. And that is left for you. But of course, you can learn later on that the relatives of yours have priority. Relatives, they have priority. Because the relatives of yours, nobody would know about their situation more than yourself, because you're a relative. And also, more priority goes to the area where you live. I don't think people in China who are rich from the Muslims would be aware about the poor people in Maidenhead, and vice versa. So that's why the people who are in the locality, they know more about the poor people, that they have priority than sending it abroad. Right. So let's just go down to the 8 categories. Number 1, al-fuqara.
Number 1, the poor. Ibn Umar narrated that the Messenger of Allah said, charity is not permissible for a person of wealth or a person of sound limbs and strength.
So it is not for a person who is rich, poor, and not for a person who have healthy limbs, everything's functioning. Now,
Ubaydullah ibn Adi ibn al-Khiyar narrated, 2 men informed me that they went to the Prophet ﷺ during the farewell pilgrimage while he was distributing charity and asked him for some. He looked at them up and down and found them to be strong. He then said, if you two wish, I will give you, but there is no share in it for a rich man or one strong and able to earn a living.
So the Prophet ﷺ, he had these 2 coming to him while he was dividing the charity, which is sadaqah and also the zakah. These 2 came and they are strong. So he did like this. MashaAllah, strong, tall, you get everything. So I wish I could give you if you want, if you are in need. But remember that there is no portion for the person who is rich. Maybe they're not, but also the person who is capable of earning. You should go and earn. So you can't just stay on the dole. You have to go to earn. If your earning is not enough, then zakah. But just to stay like this and you say, I want zakah without earning, that's not correct.
Number 2, the needy. Abu Hurairah narrated that the Messenger of Allah said, the needy person is not the one who goes around to the people and is dispensed with by a morsel or 2 of food or 1 or 2 dates. They asked, who then is the needy, O Messenger of Allah? He said, he does not find enough to satisfy him, and he is not reckoned as needy, so people do not give to him while he does not ask anything of the people.
Right. This is called al-miskin. To differentiate between the poor and the needy is very hard in English. And even in Arabic, who is poorer, the faqir or al-miskin? And the scholars had differed. But if you could see here in the ayah, the first one was mentioned is al-faqir. Because of that, we feel that the faqir is poorer than the miskin. And al-faqir is normally he does not ask. People has to search for him. He looks rich. He looks maybe nicely dressed next to you in the prayer, but nobody knows about his real situation. He doesn't ask. تحسبهم أغنياء من التعفف. You feel that you think that they are rich because they don't ask people. As for the miskin, he doesn't ask, but maybe he will ask. He will ask. So because he's in a situation which he cannot bear it, he will ask. But this is not all the time that he would ask. And that is, as I said, controversial among the scholar who is poorer. Fine. Let's go now to, and by the way, what I've quoted just now for the correct opinion, who is poorer, is the saying of Ibn Kathir, rahimahullah. Ibn Kathir, he said that Ibn Jarir and others had chosen that the faqir is the one who does not ask at all, and the miskin is the one who asks, and he follows the people and asks them to give them. But sometimes he doesn't ask. So
Number 3, those employed to collect the funds. They are the collectors and messengers who are deserving of a portion due to their efforts. However, it is not allowed to give them anything if they are the relatives of the Prophet ﷺ, for whom it is not allowed to accept charity. It is confirmed in Sahih Muslim from Abdul Muttalib ibn Rabi'ah ibn al-Harith that he and Al-Fadl ibn al-Abbas asked the Prophet ﷺ to employ them in collecting the alms. He told them, alms are not permissible for Muhammad or for the family of Muhammad, as they are only the dirt of the people.
Fine. In this, we're going to talk about two things. Number one, which is al-amiluna alayha, the ones who are working to give the zakah. And the other issue, who is not allowed to receive the zakah. Fine. Before I go ahead, a person might be owner of the nisab, the threshold, which we have discussed before, which makes him rich to give the zakah, but he's still poor because his richness is just, a person who's got now £5,000. Is he rich? But he still gives what? Zakah. So if he's got a saving of 5 grand, okay, he has to pay zakah because it's above the 85 grams of 24 carats of gold. Because we calculated about 4,500, isn't it? Yeah. Something like this. So 5,000, he has to pay 2.5%. So he pays 2.5%. That's £25 for every 1,000. It's about £125. So he's paying £125. Is that going to affect him? Because he's got maybe children, has to, for example, pay for their school and all of that. So he's rich from one side because he had saved 5,000 and it's above the threshold and he's kept it for 1 year, and yet at the same time he's in need. So he could be rich to give the zakat from one side, and yet he receives as well zakat from the other side. No problem. So he gives whatever he's supposed to give and also receives the zakat. No problem. It's exactly like the people when we talk about, inshallah, later on, zakat al-fitr. Zakat al-fitr is incumbent upon a person who has a surplus from the food that can be stored, like from the rice, the lentil, the dates, the raisins, the curd, which is the dry cheese. All of that food can be stored if he has got his food for the day and the night and a surplus. Okay? And I'm pretty sure that most of the poor people, they've got that. He's got his food for the day and the night and a surplus. So if you've got a surplus above his food for the day and the night, he needs to give what? Zakat al-fitr, which is a sa' for each person, 4 handfuls. By the way, the size of volumes, not a weight. 4 handfuls, about 2.5 kilos. So he gives 2.5 kilos because he had reached the threshold, the nisab. And at the same time, they received what? Sacks of rice and sacks of potato, sacks of whatever, the sacks of lentil, dal. Okay. He could be poor, having not even the food of the day or the night before the Eid, and suddenly every rich person gonna give him more. He got now more than what, so he has to give as well his zakah. Same thing here, the zakat of the money. He could be rich, giving rich as in holder. I shouldn't say rich. He's a holder of the nisab, but he's poor at the same time. He receives zakah and he gives zakah. طيب هي عاملون عليها. This is a person who's been appointed by the head of the state or by some people who are in charge of charities. They will get this from the zakah. They will get from the zakah. So if the zakah is collected, they can be given from the zakah. Regardless of his situation. And this person will be given from the zakah according to what he needs. So if he needs, it's a lot of zakah he has to distribute. He could hire somebody else with him. He needs to stay in a country, because we're talking about thousands of pounds for the charities. He needs to stay in a country. He needs to have a hotel. We're not going to give him the 5-star luxury hotel, but a decent hotel. All of that will be taken from what? From the zakat. And he doesn't matter, he's rich or not. He can have the zakat, but he's not allowed to have the zakah if he is from the relatives of the Prophet ﷺ. That's one category where the zakah will not be given to, but there are more categories. So who are these? We haven't talked about them, have we, last time? That's not here in the book. So who are these? The ones which are the relatives, which we call them Sayyid, okay, that we're not allowed to give from the relatives of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Those are Banu Hashim, Hashemite. Any person who belongs to the Hashemite is not to be given zakah. What about if he's poor? Well, normally it is the case that they will have specific salary from the budget, Baytul Mal, House of Treasury. But if there was no House of Treasury, if they were not specified by salary or money from the head of state, then we could give them the zakah. Because the Prophet ﷺ, he said, as-sadaqah, which is zakah, is not to be given to the family of Muhammad, al-Muhammad, Hashemite. It is the dirt of the people, because you are you want to wash yourself from the sins, you give the zakah. And it's not good to go to the people of al-Muhammad. And al-Muhammad here are the Muslims, of course, not the non-Muslims. Abu Jahl is not from al-Muhammad. Abu Lahab, the uncle of the Prophet, because he's a kafir. Also with Banu Hashim, Banu Abdul Muttalib. Oh, sorry, Banu Muttalib, not Banu Abdul Muttalib. Muttalib is a Hashemite. Al-Muttalib is the brother of Abdul Muttalib. Okay? The Muttalib is the brother of Abdul Muttalib. Now, as for the other brothers, Abdul Shams and Nawfal, you see, here we have the category of people of the Hashemite. It comes down from Abdul Manaf, underneath him 4 sons. Sons number 1, the Muttalib, Al-Muttalib, Nawfal, and Abdul Shams. When the siege took place onto the Prophet ﷺ and the Muslims in Mecca for 3 years, siege, blockade. Nobody can marry from them, nobody can give them trade. They had been tortured for 3 years. They can't even eat, except they used to eat the dead animals, the skin of the dead animals, for 3 years. The ones who had allied with them is their cousins from Banu Muttalib. Where the rest, Abdul Shams and Nawfal, they were against them. So Abdul Shams and Banu Nawfal, they were with the kuffar against their own clan. So the Prophet ﷺ, he said Banu Hashim and Banu Muttalib, not Abdul Muttalib. Muttalib is from Banu Hashim. Banu Muttalib are together. So they don't receive the zakah. So any person who belongs to Banu Muttalib would not receive the zakah as well, because they were together with the Prophet ﷺ's family in the siege in the valley of Abu Talib. طيب. So we start now Banu Hashim, Banu Muttalib, and of course Banu Hashim, you find it Abdul Muttalib and Abu Talib, his brother, and Banu Aqil, also Banu Abbas. So those are the Hashemites. Hashemites, they will not Banu Hashim, Alu Muhammadin sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam. Not only that, even the slaves who's been set free by Banu Hashim and Banu Muttalib are to be as well from the categories which are not allowed to receive the zakah. Here Abu Rafi' radiyallahu anhu, a freed slave from the Prophet ﷺ, said the Prophet of Allah sent a man from Banu Makhzum, a tribe, to give the sadaqah. So he said to Abu Rafi', remember he's a free slave of the Prophet ﷺ, well, come with me so you could give you some of the zakat. He said, no, I'm not going to take it until I come to the Prophet of Allah and ask him. So he went to the Prophet ﷺ and asked him. He said, Prophet of Allah, he said, the sadaqah, which is the sadaqah is not to be lawful to us, and verily the emancipated slaves, I mean the slaves being set free, it's called emancipated, al-mawali. Emancipated slave also are from the family of al-bayt. That is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had encouraged the Muslims to set the slave free, but he did not abolish slavery because there's war. It's always war. And the slavery system protects the prisoners of war. So, but there's an encouragement and prompting to set the slave free. From that encouragement, that if this person is being set free, okay, by his master becomes one of those who will inherit in case if this person did not have what we call in inheritance agnation, asaba. So if this person who has been set free from a master, listen please, you could really follow me. I am the master and he's the slave. I set him free. He went, he's not related to me, by the way. I'm Jordanian, he's Pakistani. He's from Asaf's father, I'm from different father. But I set him free. This person, Zubair, now he becomes rich as Bill Gates. MashaAllah, multi-millionaire. And his father is not there. He died. His cousins, his uncles, all of those men who are from the agnation on the father's side, they died. He only had a daughter, no sons, no son of a son. He had a daughter and he had a son for his daughter. Do you understand that? A grandson, but from his daughter. Okay. Right. So in inheritance, if he dies, listen, his daughter, she takes a portion. And the son of his daughter will never ever take a portion, because his lineage or his connection is through a female, because he's the son of the daughter. They don't inherit. Grandchildren from the daughter, they don't inherit whatsoever, unless you specify from the will, from the third. The son of his daughter will inherit, and a person who is nothing to do with the relationship, will inherit a portion. And if I'm dead, still my sons can take over. So I'm still there. Do you know how much is a portion of his daughter and how much is my portion? Or if I'm not even there, my sons will receive them. How much is the portion? 50%, 50%. His daughter will take 50%, and I will take 50%.
As a slave master will take 50%.
Not a slave master. I am a master.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a master.
Yeah.
I'll take a 50%. It's not because I'm taking 50% because I'm a master, because I'm the only agnation. The daughter of yours, she's called a specific shareholder. She will never inherit more than half. Unless there is nobody there, she will take the other half. But because there's an agnation, I'm an outside agnation, I take the remaining. If I was not there, the daughter will take everything. So 50% for her and 50% for this stranger. But this is to honor the person who what? Who set the slaves free. That is why you are like from the mawali, you are from the luhma, from the flesh, even though we are strangers, but because I set you free. So that is why if the zakah was haram to the Al Muhammad, it's haram upon you if you are a slave from Al Muhammad. Okay? Fine. It's amazing. And this is why Allah said everything in the Quran to tell you that you don't know who is closer to you. You don't know. If it's been left to you, you will decide whatever you like. You say, okay, I give the wife more than the child, and well, do you understand me? So it's left for Allah. Allah is the one who had set the heirs and how much their portion. So we have al-asabat, the agnation. Okay. Now, coming back now.
Number 4, those whose hearts have been inclined towards Islam. Some are to be given so that they will accept Islam. For example, the Prophet ﷺ gave Safar ibn Umayyah from the booty of Hunayn as he had participated in that battle while he was a polytheist. Safwan said, he continued to give me until he became the most beloved person to me after he had been the most hated person to me. Some are to be given in order to improve their Islam and make their hearts firm. For example, also after Hunayn, the Prophet ﷺ gave 100 camels to some of the nobles of those who embraced Islam in Mecca after it was conquered. He stated, I give to one person, while another is more beloved to me out of fear that Allah may throw him on his face into the hellfire. Bukhari and Muslim records from Abu Sa'id that Ali sent to the Prophet ﷺ a gold nugget still in his dirt from Yemen. He distributed it among 4 people. Al-Aqra ibn Hadis, Uyayna ibn Badr, Al-Qama ibn Ulatha, and Zayd al-Khayr. Alqama ibn Ulatha and Zayd al-Khayr. The Prophet said it was to reconcile their hearts. Some people are given out of the hopes that their peers will embrace Islam. Others are given what? That their peers, so people they know.
Well, okay, their peers means the one who are almost like the same position as they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Others are given to collect arms from his surrounding areas, and some may be given in order to fend off any harm to the Muslims from the border areas. And Allah alone knows best.
Okay, right. Before I go ahead and continue, the mu'allafa qulub, the one which is mentioned in the ayah to reconcile their hearts. And here he says there are categories. One which is not a Muslim. And this tells me from the categories of those people who you're not allowed to give zakah, not the voluntary sadaqah. The zakah are the kuffar. Has to be given to a Muslim except for this exception. What is the exception? That this person, we hope for him to what? Embrace Islam. Is this a bribe? Is this what the missionary they do, for example, to the non-Muslim, they want to bribe them to come to Islam? And what the Rafidah, they go to Africa, give them to become Islam, or the Qadianis, they go to the people who are poor, they give them to embrace Qadianism. Huh? Is it the same? Well, if you want to look at it from an angle, well, it could be the same because the money, it does soften the heart. But here you see, Islam is being opposed by all other religions. You'll find a mother who's got 5 sons and she's a Christian. She will be upset, but not much if one of her sons embraced Judaism. She will be a bit upset if one of her sons had become an atheist. She would be upset if one of her sons became a Buddhist. But she will declare war if one of her sons embraces what? Islam. So this is where the category comes to help. So this person is about to embrace Islam. Definitely, he will be afraid of being deprived from what? I think you need to switch it off. It's cold. He's been deprived. Okay, he is being deprived from sources of money, especially if she's a sister. You're going to put hijab. Maybe the job will throw her out. It can be disowned by her family. Maybe. So this person, before he's going to step a further step to embrace Islam, he's going to think, I'm going to be bankrupt. Nobody's going to help me. But if the Muslim tell him, don't worry, you have a share in our money, whether we like it or not. From the zakah, we can give you. We can give him whether he just, this is the second category, embraced Islam or before he embraced Islam. Safar ibn Umayyah, when the Prophet of Allah regained Mecca, okay, and he's still a kafir. Not only that, he used to hate the Prophet of Allah, and he said, there's nobody was hated to me more than yourself. He used to hate nobody more than you. There's no religion more hated to me than your religion. There's no God more hated to me than your own God. And he kept giving him, while he was what? Disbeliever. So much like a camel's, imagine 2 valleys or 2 mountains and a valley between them full of camels. Oh. Full of camels. Until he started to love him. How dare I am going to hate this person? When he loved him, then he embraced Islam. And then he came to the Prophet of Allah. You are the dearest person to my heart now. And your religion is the dearest religion to my heart. SubhanAllah. The money changes the person. It does. Either corrupts him or makes him good. Usually corrupts him. So in this category, we give to the non-Muslim, hoping for him to become a Muslim. We give to the person who just embraced Islam to make sure that he stayed firm onto Islam, stays firm in Islam. We give to the person who is a Muslim, and he could be even rich, but because he was not a Muslim before, and if he becomes a Muslim and a good one, and then others will start what? Become a Muslim like him. Okay? Others will become a Muslim like him. So all of those categories under al-mu'allafa qulub, to reconcile the hearts. Now the following question comes. Is this a category that had ceased after the death of the Prophet of Allah, or it's kept going? Because Umar al-Khattab, said, we're not going to give this share to these people. We are powerful now. We were before weak. We used to give the ones who are just about to embrace Islam, so you could put them with the Muslim, but we are strong now. At the time of the Umar al-Khattab, he abolished that category. Radiallahu anhu. No more. When they wanted to come to Muslim, but not for the money I'm going to give them. Radiallahu anhu. So this is the following question. Fadal.
Is the zakah still to be given to those whose hearts are to be reconciled after the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Ibn Kathir states that on this point there is a difference of opinion. It's narrated from Umar, Amir, Ashabi, and a group of scholars that they are no longer to be given after the death of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is because Allah has strengthened Islam and its people, has established it in the land, and has made the people subservient to it. Others say that they are still to be given from the zakat because the Prophet ﷺ gave to such people after the victory of Mecca and the defeat of Hawazin. Thus, it could still be needed, and such people are still to be given.
Correct opinion, they still can be given. Because the Prophet of Allah, even after the strength of Islam, which is the opening and regaining of Mecca, the Prophet ﷺ had given the people who are about, which is Safar ibn Umayyah. And also, even after the defeat of Hawazin in the Battle of Hunayn, Prophet of Allah still gave those people who are just about becoming Muslim, or just about embrace Islam, or just about to embrace Islam, the Prophet of Allah had given them in order to reconcile their hearts. And that is why when the Prophet ﷺ, he had some of the booty from Yemen and also from Hunayn, he started giving more to those people from the Quraysh. And the Muslims from the Ansar, who came from the Medina, they said, well, our souls is not yet dry from the blood. I mean, we've been participating in the fight. That's like they're saying, it's not correct, division. How come they can take more share than us and they haven't fought as much as us? So the Prophet ﷺ, he said, Ata'allafu, I want to reconcile their heart. This is the reason I'm giving them more. You are, mashallah, Muslims, well versed into Islam. You don't need that category. But these people, I'm trying to make them, because they are Sanadid of Quraysh, top elite people of Quraysh. If they embrace Islam, everybody from the Quraysh will embrace Islam. Right. Let's go to the fifth one.
Number 5, to free the captives. It's narrated from Al-Hasan al-Basri, Muqatil ibn Ayyan, Umar ibn Abdul, lots of people, that this is in reference to the slaves who have made an agreement to pay for their freedom. Similar has been narrated from Abu Musa al-Shari.
Okay, let me just, these are lots of names. Let me just relieve you from that. I like what you said, lots of names, and then you skipped it. Here, if you look at the ayah, إنما الصدقات للفقراء والمساكين والعاملين عليها والمؤلفة قلوبهم. It says و للفقراء والمساكين والعاملين والمؤلفة قلوبهم, and then he says وفي الرقاب. He didn't say والرقاب. He said وفي الرقاب. He added the fee. The reason behind this one and the following one, this is the way to give them. So I cannot give the zakah to those mentioned before, the faqir al-miskin, al-mu'allafa qulubuhum, also the ones which are al-amilina alayha. Those are, I have to give them in their hands. Whereas, wa fir riqab, I'm allowed to give them not in their hands. How? Because wafir riqab means freeing the slave. Either the slave, he had made a deal with his master, he wanted to set himself free. So how much do I worth? He said to him, £1,000. So this person goes to go and collect £1,000 in order to set himself free from his slave, from his master. So he knocks on the door of somebody. So that person, he could give him directly, or he could give to his what? To his master. I would give to his master in order to set him free. So how do I give the zakah and setting free the slave? Either I've got a slave and I set him free, that's part of my zakah, or I purchase a slave and I set him free, or I help a slave who's already made a deal with his master to set himself free. You understand me? These are the 3 things under freeing a slave. 1, I've got a slave, I own a slave, set him free, part of my zakah. Secondly, is that I purchase a slave from somebody else, from the market, and I set him free. Thirdly, a person who's a slave made a deal with his master, and I'm helping him to set himself free. This is called wafir riqab. Let's go to the 6th one.
6, those in debt.
Are we, by the way, in 45 minutes, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, mashallah. We've got plenty of time. Good.
These fall into different categories. These include those who incur the expenses in solving disputes among others, those who have guaranteed a loan that has now become due, those who cannot pay their debts, and those who have committed sin but then repented. All of these may be given to as part of this category. Right,
we're going to listen to this hadith Qabisa, to understand. So he says that the gharimi, the one who are in debt, either he had made a sin somehow he purchased a shop, it's got alcohol, and then he went bankrupt and he repented to Allah, and he's still poor and he's becoming in debt, he has to pay the other people, then we'll help him. Or a person who had borrowed money and he couldn't really pay it back, and he borrowed money for something which is essential and he needs it. It's not he, for example, he bought a Lamborghini and he's in debt. Tell him to sell his Lamborghini and go and pay for his debt. We're not going to give him Zakaah to his Lamborghini or to his palace. Sell your palace and get a small house. And also the one who had taken the burden of the debt, meaning somebody had killed somebody, and then there was a blood money. The blood money usually for death, for killing, especially if it is deliberate, high. So you're talking about £500,000. So this normally it will lie upon not just the killer, but the family and the tribe of the killer. All of them, they had to participate in order to get that big, massive lump sum. It's still going on in Yemen, by the way. Still doing it in Yemen. Big, massive blood money. So for the sake of that, the tribe will not get revenge from each other. Maybe a person, he will present himself that I will take the burden of collecting the debt. Do you understand that? So this $500,000, I will collect it. Now, this person is allowed to go to charities, to masajid, and tell them that I'm collecting money on behalf of such and such. تحملت حمالة, it's in Arabic. I have taken burden myself with this. Now, this person can be Bill Gates, and he's entitled to the Zakah. Do you understand me? Or second Bill Gates. He could be rich. He could be rich. So he's one of those 5 people, as the Prophet said, can be rich yet receive what? Zakah. It's not the Zakah for his pocket. Zakah because collected it for what? For the burden that he took, for the responsibility that he took. So he's one of the 5. We're going to see the 5 in a minute, inshallah, at the end of the 7th category. So this is now Hadith Qabisa ibn Mukhariq al-Hilali. Fadal.
He said, I incurred a debt resolving a dispute between people and went to the Messenger of Allah.
Why didn't you say his name, brother?
Just in case I mess it up.
Say it again, say the name.
Qabisa ibn Mukhariq al-Hilali.
Very good.
I incurred a debt resolving a dispute between people and went to the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, asking him to help pay it. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, wait until some charity is brought to us so that we give it to you.
By the way, Qabisa is not a poor person, he's rich. And he said, I have taken a burden on me to collect the debt. So I went to the Prophet asking him to give me. He said, okay, stay put until the sadaqah started coming to me, and then I'll give you. Then he said,
O Qabisa, begging is not allowed except in 3 cases. A man who incurs debts, solving his disputes, he is allowed to ask until he collects its amount and then must stop.
Do you understand that? Just to say it in a loud voice, meaning that this person, he is to settle a dispute. Remember the killing? To settle a dispute. So he took the burden of collecting this money, the debt. He could be rich himself, but he's doing the Jazallahu khayran. Barakallahu fi, may Allah reward him. He's a rajul muhsin, kind man to do that. So he will get the zakah until he collects, and the sadaqat until he gets the correct amount of money. Second one.
A man who was inflicted by a disaster that consumed his wealth, he is allowed to ask until he collects what suffices.
So he's got a disaster. Something had happened to him. Okay. And then he became bankrupt. Then he has to give him zakah. The zakah could be for a day, 2 days, for a year. Better to give him for a whole year. Now.
And a man who was overcome by poverty, such that 3 knowledgeable relatives of his stand up and proclaim, so and so was overcome by poverty. This man is allowed to ask until he collects what sustains his livelihood.
Right. Again here, we want to understand this. This person suddenly became poor. He says that 3 people from what?
3 knowledgeable people.
Knowledgeable, it's not knowledgeable. Hijrah means people who are senior, known in the, they are known. Like the Imam of the Masjid, the Sheikh, the head of the committee. Do you understand me? Known people. Okay? And they are from his own people, from his own tribe. That means from his own family. They know him. Then they have to testify that such and such had been struck by poverty. Then he can ask for begging, for the zakah. What's the difference between second and the third? Why? Second one. This person, read the second one, please.
A man who was inflicted by a disaster that consumed his wealth.
Inflicted by disaster, consumed his wealth. Go on.
He is allowed to ask.
He's allowed to ask for sadaqah. Third one.
And a man who was overcome by poverty, such that
he's overcome by poverty,
such that 3 senior or known relatives of his stand up and proclaim so and so.
What's the difference? I don't understand. Why is 3 people here and the first one is not 3 people? Disaster. So what does that mean? Go on.
So, for example, health issue could be one.
Health issue, disaster,
earthquake.
Yes. Basically, something can be seen by everybody. That's why he doesn't need anybody to testify. He's got land, he's got crops in it. All the olives have been burnt. He's got his house, earthquakes collapse his house. Everybody can see that. He doesn't need witnesses. But the third one, his house is there, his car is there, but there's something had happened in his bank account. Something nobody knows except for him and those people close to him. That's why he needs 3 people to testify. Something had happened. This is to do with forgery or money, or what do you call it? The money when it goes to scam or something like this. Something happened to his money. They've been taken away with that. Well, only few people would know. He needs 3 witnesses for that. Then he said, other than that, qabisat will be?
Other than these cases, begging is an unlawful amount that one illegally consumes.
Suht. None of it. It's a bad word. Going to be eating suht. But this is now al-gharimin. So I for the debt is also like for riqab, meaning like the slaves. I could give to the person who's in debt, or I could give the person who is the creditor. And I think we talked about that last time. The creditor, I could give it to him. So he is in debt, £1,000 or something. I could give to that person £1,000 and settle his debt. But we said, I think the last time, that the best is to give it to him or to give it to the creditor. If I believe that this person will take the money and give it to the person who is in debt to, then I will give it to him. If I believe he's going to use it for something else, I would rather give it to the one who's the creditor. Why is it better for me? Camera, it's just because of the lack of light. Why the creditor? Why it's better to give it to the one who's in debt, to give it to the creditor? Because you give the person this power to give to the person who is credited to him, give him the credit. This is your money. That person doesn't have to know that he had got this money from what? From zakah. It's better rather than to humiliate him and give the money to the person who's this is on behalf of such and such. No. You give it to the person, he will pay his money by himself. Right, let's go to number 7.
Number 7, for Allah's clause, this refers to the fighters who have no right to receive money from the public treasury.
So there are fighters who are volunteers. They're not fighters like from the army who take salary. The one who takes salary doesn't always account. Just take salary. Some of them are rich. But the one who's voluntary to come, will give them as well from the zakah. They don't have salary. Type. By the way, even if he's rich. So we don't give the one who's received salary from the state, we give the one who volunteers. But this volunteer, let's say he's rich. I could give him still what? Zakah. Could buy him the horse, or buy him the car, or buy him the machine gun, or buy him whatever. No problem. He's one of the 5 categories where he can be rich and receive zakah. Fadal.
The author adds that Ibn Kathir is referring to the following hadith narrated by Ibn Abbas. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was intending to perform the pilgrimage. woman said to her husband,
and the Imam, so according to Imam Ahmad and Hassan, Ishaq, that also Hajj is considered fi sabilillah. The word fi sabilillah, this is the one where the ones who want to expand the zakah recipients, they put everything fi sabilillah, building a school fi sabilillah, da'wah fi sabilillah, getting married fi sabilillah. If it's the case, then what is the point of mentioning the other categories? There's no point. Allah would have said, إِنَّمَا صَدَقَاتُ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. There's no need to mention all of these categories. So what is the point? If you're going to be saying fi sabilillah is da'wah fi sabilillah, teaching somebody on your behalf fi sabilillah, getting somebody's marriage is fi sabilillah. It doesn't work like that. Fi sabilillah is the jihad. But there is an element has been added to it, which is the hajj, because of the hadith of the Prophet. Here we have hadith of Abdullah ibn Abbas, and the Messenger of Allah wanted to make hajj. A woman, she said to her husband,
let me make the pilgrimage with the Messenger of Allah.
Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.
He replied, I have nothing for you to make the pilgrimage on. She said, let me ride on such and such camel of yours.
So she knows he's got a camel, her husband. He said, I can't give you a camel, but I know you've got a camel such and such. She got more than one camel. Go on.
He replied, it is being kept for the sake of Allah.
It's being kept as for the zakah, for what? For jihad. I've designated that camel not for anything else, but for jihad. Now,
he then went to the Messenger of Allah وسلم, and said, my wife conveys her greetings to you. She has asked me to make the pilgrimage with you. I told her that I have nothing for her to make the pilgrimage on, and she requested such and such camel. I told her that it was being kept for the sake of Allah. Prophet for
the sake of Allah, it means for the jihad.
Prophet ﷺ then told him, if you let her make the pilgrimage upon it, it would be for Allah's cause.
Khalas. If you had let her to use that camel that you have designated for the jihad, to use it for hajj, it would have been as well the same thing for jihad. So al-hajj also is in that category, fi sabilillah, but nothing else, not building schools, not da'wah, and all of that. Number 8, and the last one.
Number 8 for the wayfarer. This refers to the traveler who is cut off in a foreign land and has nothing to help him along in his journey. He is to be given from the zakah until he is able to reach his homeland, even if he be a person of wealth. This is also the ruling for a person who starts a journey from his land and has no money. He is to be given sufficient money from the zakah until he is able to go and return. The evidence for this position is in the verse above, as well as the following hadith.
Okay, before the hadith, this ikhwani, it's not a person just travel to a land and he can't get back. No. Even for a person who is in need to initiate a journey. Let's say, for example, his mother died in a different country. Nobody going to take care of her except for him. And yes, we want the money. We give him what? From the zakah. To go and get him a ticket and everything, give him for the zakah. And here, remember this category as well, just like the category of the debt, like the category of the fi sabilillah. Okay? So, and the category of the setting free the slave, you could give it to the what? Not to the person himself. So I could go and buy him the ticket. So I don't have to give it in his hand. I go and buy him the ticket. And that is as well for this person who is Ibn Sabil. So I could give him to start or to return. And even, let's say he is rich. He went to a place, or he wants to go to a place, and he needs to go to do so, but yet the money is not with him. He's rich. The money is stranded somewhere. He hasn't got liquid money, he's got assets. Do you understand? I could give him from the zakah. Which is from the 5 categories being mentioned. These can be given zakah. But which is better for this person who is a traveler? To take it as a loan or to take it from the zakah? Which one do you think?
The traveler.
This traveler is rich, he needs to travel, but he hasn't got the money. He's got 2 options. I have to take it from this person, give me a brother loan, I'll give it to you back.
No.
Or take the zakah. Do you understand me?
Yeah,
if this is zakah, why loan?
Because he doesn't need it. He's got assets.
No, you don't. Allah allows it for him. Allah allows it for him.
He doesn't like a bit of free money.
Huh?
He doesn't like a bit of free money. He's get it from the...
There's lots of people that's free money.
Yeah.
Okay, read the 5 categories and you see. Read the 5 categories. Yeah. حديث معمر عن يزيد بن أسلم عن عطاء بن يسار عن أبي سعيد رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Prophet ﷺ, he said, the sadaqah is not lawful
to give charity to a rich person except in 5 cases.
So the sadaqah is not to be given to a rich person. It's not allowed except in 5 cases. What are the 5 cases? Number 1.
One employed to collect the zakah.
Employed to collect the zakah. So even if he's rich, we'll give it from the zakah. Because he's doing as a voluntary work. Jazakallahu khairan. Number 2.
A fighter for the sake of Allah.
Huh?
A fighter for the sake of Allah.
Fighter for the zakah, jihad, because he's not saying it according to the order here in Arabic. Okay, fighter for the sake of Allah, we said he's rich, but you could give him zakah for buying a tank or a machine gun. Thirdly,
a rich person.
A rich person, remember, he's taking the burden. Taking the burden to rectify between people. He's rich, taking the zakah. Number 4.
A poor person who is given charity and then he gives it as a gift to a rich person and a debtor. So
that is a person who's been taking this zakah indirectly. So it's being given. So let's say, for example, you are the poor person, you've received zakah. Okay? Let's say you receive zakah, you receive the sheep of zakah. And I'm the rich person. And then you gave me half of the sheep to me. It says zakah, but you gave it to me as what? As a gift.
Yeah.
So I've received the zakah indirectly. I'm allowed to take it. It's a gift. Do you understand that, Ikhwani? Right. So that is something as well. Barira, she received a meat as a sadaqah. And she gave to Aisha. She's our Prophet ﷺ. So the Prophet of Allah said, it's not fit for us. He wanted to eat from it. Aisha says, it's not fit for us. He said, yes, it is. Because it's being given zakah to Barira, but Barira gave it to us as what? As a gift.
So it wasn't zakah when it came.
So it came zakah to her, but became gift from her to Aisha. So that's the fourth. What is the 5th one? There's no 5th one here in hadith. That's why I'm just saying you missed it here in Arabic. أو رجل اشتراها بماله. You gave us zakah. I'm the rich. I gave him the zakah, the sheep. The sheep, wanted to go and sell it. So he put it in the market. I went to the market and I saw the sheep and I bought my sheep. Do you understand that? So he taken a zakah. This zakah, I received it indirectly again. He put it in the market. And then I bought it. I'm not supposed to go and it's not good to go and buy your zakah. Because usually you're going to buy it with what? Cheap price. But indirectly you could buy it. So I can't buy it from him. I give him the sheep. How much is he going to sell me the sheep? He wants money. He could give me the sheep half price. You see what I mean? But if he put it in the market, and I was bidding on the market, and it ended up the sheep with me, the horse that I gave him with me, whatever I give him as a zakah. So this zakah ended up with me, even I'm rich, I take in the zakah. Those are the 5 categories that you take as zakah. Now, before I will finish, let me continue those people who are not allowed to receive the zakah. We said the family of Al-Muhammad and Banu Muttalib. Number 2, the ones who are kuffar or atheists or any non-Muslim except al-mu'allafa qulubuhum. Do you understand that? But they are allowed to take from the general voluntary sadaqah, even if you don't want to reconcile their hearts. Not from the zakah, from the others. Zakah has to be reconciling their hearts. He's about to become a Muslim. But the sadaqah, the mother of Asma radiallahu anha, the daughter of Abu Bakr, her name is Qatila, she was a kafir. She came to her daughter, she's asking for sadaqah, she's asking to help. So her daughter asked the Prophet of Allah, she wants sila, means money. Shall I give her? She said, yes, sili ummak. Yes, give her. To give her sadaqah. So the voluntary sadaqah, no problem to be given to the disbeliever. The voluntary sadaqah is no problem to give it to the sinner. And Allah when He says, وَيُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ عَلَى حُبِّهِ مِسْكِينًا وَيَتِيمًا وَأَسِيرًا. And they give for the love of the sake of Allah, they give the food to the following category. وَيُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ عَلَى حُبِّهِ, for the sake of loving Allah. يَتِيمًا وَمِسْكِينًا وَأَسِيرًا. مسكينا ويتيما وأسيرا. المسكين, اليتيم, the poor and the orphan normally are Muslims. But the asir, the captive, most of them are non-Muslims. Asir. Do you understand me? You shouldn't have asir as a Muslim. You can't have a captive Muslim. The asir is what? Non-Muslim. But still we can give him what? Sadaqah. ويطعمون الطعام على حبه مسكينا ويتيما وأسيرا. So you're allowed to give the voluntary sadaqah to the disbelievers. Also from the ones who are not allowed to be given the zakah, whom you are obliged or obligated to spend on them. For example, my son, or let's start with the number one, my wife. In no way I can give her zakah. It's not allowed because it's her expenses on me as a husband. So it's part of me. I can't give her. So that's why the Sheikh Al-Albani used to say, لا تجتمع نفقة مع صدقة. You cannot combine these two. The nafaqah, that the expenditure is upon you, you're obliged to do it, obligated to do it. And sadaqah is meant to give the zakah and the sadaqah. You're not allowed to do that. Like your mother, like your father, like your son, like your daughter. But let's say the father is separate from the son. They live, father and mother, his wife, separate from the son. And the son and the father, for example, got to somehow that to a situation where he is in need of money. And the son, he hasn't got that much money. He's got the 5,000 pounds. You remember the 5,000 pounds? So is he allowed to give the 125 pounds, which is the zakat, to his father in this case? Yes, he's allowed. Because he can't cope to spend money on his children and then on his father and his mother. So he's allowed in this category to give that, because he can't cope. So that little zakah of his, he could give it to his father or his mother. Also, if his father is in debt, listen, Ikhwan, this is very good. You inshallah, you need it. If your father is in debt and they are separate family, I can give zakah to settle what? My father's debt.
So it's just living in a different place.
Yes, totally separate, in different place, different. He's not responsible for him, or he's not responsible for him. I mean, totally isolated, independent. They are independent. So I could settle his debt from the zakah. Wallahu a'lam. By this, I finish. Alhamdulillah. Leave you for another 10 minutes for questions and answers. Jazakumullah khair. If you have any questions regarding what you've heard, please go ahead. And the ones who are online, put your hands up as well.
If somebody is rich, but they've been struck by disaster, like happened,
Somebody who is
rich,
rich,
they've been struck by disaster.
Struck by disaster.
They don't have access to the money.
They don't have access to the money.
So they have money in the bank, but
Yep.
they don't have access to it because there's a disaster everywhere. Can we give them the money?
They can't have a zakah. They are like the wayfarer. We said they have their choice, either to take a loan, which is better, so they could be the upper hand. The upper hand is always better, or because they are entitled for the zakah until the banks are open and all of that. Of course, you're going to give them zakah. What are they going to live from? They're going to die. They don't have money.
Follow on to that. Can we give them the
Now that's a practical question. Talking about the disaster that took place in Pakistan.
Can we give them zakat in goods instead of money? Because
Zakah cannot be given except with the zakah that you have made from that. For example, gold and silver, gold and silver. Banknotes, banknotes. We said the gold, you could give it banknotes. Sheep is sheep. Unless it is for the maslahah, for the benefit of the poor that he accepts. So you got 400 sheep and you want to give me those sheep that you want, 4 sheep. Okay, give me 4 sheep. I don't know what I'm going to do with the 4 sheep, brother. Just give me the money instead of the 4 sheep. If he accepts this, the poor person, you give him the money. But he deserves the money and you're going to give him food, you have to be with what? His permission.
Those specifically are meant for the disaster struck areas. If they have money, they can't spend it because there's no shops. but we can send them food.
That's from the sadaqat.
Not zakat.
No, unless they themselves accept it as zakah. So you have to tell them beforehand if it's okay. This is your zakah. So they have money. He said to me. He said to me, they have money. So why don't they purchase from outside?
We don't know if they have money. I'm talking about charities.
So they don't have money. So let's just say they don't have money now. They don't have money, and they want food. Okay. So obviously, in this case, most of them they would say to you, the money I'm not going to pay my electricity bill. I'm not going to use washing up liquid. I'm not going to wash my clothes. It's basically for my survival, isn't it? So in this case, it's like it becomes the norm. That is, the zakah is to be turned into a food. Do you understand? If it is the case. Yeah. But if there's a choice for the poor person to buy from you food and buy from somebody else, have to give him the money or take permission from him. That's why we say to give to an orphanage school. Orphanage school. Orphanage school, I cannot give the zakah to orphanage school. Zakah, not the sadaqah, no problem. Zakah as in books, papers, pens. Do you understand me? I cannot. I have to give it to the parents who are responsible for these poor people, the orphans. One of them is alive, the one who's in charge, and they themselves say, I want to buy books. I want to buy it. Do you understand me? But just to use that without their permission, the permission who is in charge of the child. Okay? But if the child himself has got nobody to as a guard or the guardian of him, then in this case, the person who is in charge of the school will be their guardian. So he will decide which is better for them to receive the zakah. So he could give them food, give them shelter, he gives them clothes, he gives them books and school items. He will decide. Now, zakah related will be very important questions. If you have zakah related questions on the online, go ahead. Otherwise, please adjourn yourself. تفضل يا أحمد.
I had an inherited question for my sister.
أبو يحيى الزكاة تفضل.
Assalamu alaikum.
سلام عليكم.
There's a revert sister who's struggling financially.
Sister who's
She used to be Christian and she's come back to Islam. She's got debt that, of course, is too much amount to clear by anyone. I don't know how that committee works, but is it possible for one person to donate towards her needs, like bills and food and stuff? Would that count as do you know what I mean, like with the zakat?
So she is in this revert sister. She is in poverty.
I would say like she can't make her bills. I would say like not even like like.
So you give her the money and she'll pay her bills, the child.
She goes to food bank, example, like she goes to food bank. That's
okay.
How bad.
So you give her the money to give her, unless you think that you're not going to pay her bills. Then you
that's
pay her bills on behalf. So it's like a debt, because the bills are debt. In this case, you could give it to the bills.
You could pay out the bills instead of giving her
but
money.
You have to tell her. She has to be with her consent.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Okay.
So should you pay her bills or should you just give her the money? Because I don't know. Like,
because we said the debt, ya Ikhwani, it depends upon if you
the debt,
sister,
like you can't. The debt is amount you can't pay. Like imagine like 20,000.
No. Bills are debts as well.
Oh, is that counts as bill? Oh, okay,
Yeah.
sweet.
Bills are debts because she's in debt to the electricity, she's in debt to the water, she's in debt to the gas.
I mean, like then she's bankrupt in that sense because she can't afford her other bills. Like her priority bills, like bills and electric, and then she's got like 20,000, example, like in debt. That's what I'm saying. Like, so you paying her gas bills like minor compared to her actual
20,000. What's that?
Allah, Jahiliya credit, whatever it will be.
Well, anyway, we'll help as much as we. As I said, the debt we could give it to the debt directly, but the most important is her survival. We have to give her something to
maintenance and
for food. So give her the money to buy the food of hers. She doesn't, as long as she doesn't buy drinks. You understand me? The drinks of alcohol.
She doesn't
buy cigarettes and things like this. Now, or drugs. Fine. I think we have to stop here. سبحانك اللهم بحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. تفضل يا أخي. ندور الأذان بإذن الله.